Formulas are one of the most critical pieces of building an awesome database inside of SmartSuite. In this video, I want to break down for you how you can write a more complicated formula. A lot of times these can feel pretty overwhelming, but we are going to show you how to take it step by step in this video and get you to that output that you desire with your formula. So if that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth. I'm the owner here at Gap Consulting, and it's our mission to help you get organized and automated with no code. SmartSuite is one of our favorite no-code solutions, and in this video, as I mentioned, we are going to be talking about writing complicated formulas. But before we get going with SmartSuite, I first want to invite you for some free training. If you are new to no-code tools like this, automation is one of the key pieces that will allow you to start reclaiming your time. It's one of those features that make no-code tools like SmartSuite so very powerful. And I've put together a free automation training for you that you can grab at our website, gapconsulting.io/webinar-registration. I'll include links wherever you found this. Go ahead and sign up there and get instant access to that training. But without further ado, let's hop on into my screen. I want to welcome you to SmartSuite. If you already have an account, feel free to follow along with me. And if you don't, be sure to set up your free trial using our link wherever you found this video. So here we are inside of a very simple solution. I have tasks, and a task simply comprises of a name and then a link to subtasks. Subtasks are in a different application. So here I am in a different application, subtasks, and they have their subtask name. Obviously, they also link to the task, because if a task links to a subtask, then a subtask links to a task. And then each subtask has its own status. In this case, complete, ready for review, in process, and of course, they're also assigned to someone. So maybe we want to write a formula where back at the tasks level, we want to know the percentage of completion of the overall task. Well, we can look at a glance and say, well, we've got 4 subtasks here. Back on the subtasks application, we know that 2 of those subtasks are complete already. So that's pretty simple. We could say 50%. But we don't want to have to do that manually. It would be way better if we're over here on the tasks application and we can see that 50% just demonstrated for us right here. So first, whenever we sit down to write a complicated formula, the first step is to always have an understanding of what we need to do in order to facilitate the output we're looking for. So in our example, we're doing a percentage. So obviously we need to know the total number of subtasks associated with a task. But we also need to know the total number of completed subtasks, and we're going to divide the second into the first. That is the total number of completed subtasks divided by the total number of subtasks for a particular task in question. So how do we do this? The harder solution would be to build both of those values first. That is to say, calculate with a new field the total number of subtasks. Then build another field that calculates the total number of completed subtasks. And then finally, a third field that performs the math that we need to do. But it's way easier to build one field, one simple formula that's going to do all of that thinking for us. We don't want to muddy up the waters and put a lot of information on an application if we don't need to. So let's simplify things by doing all of this math inside of our formula. Now that being said, it's also very helpful when writing a multi-pronged formula like this. It's helpful to first go through and make sure that we get each piece right, and then we're going to combine them all and make that one complete output that doesn't rely on anything else. So let's get to work. First, I'll build just the first version of one of these outputs. I'll use a formula field type, and I'll just call this Formula 1. Now, for now, I'm going to build out a couple formulas, and then I'm going to show you how to merge them all together to build that more complicated formula at the end. Now, what I want to do is immediately flip on to the advanced editor. This is going to be a more tricky formula, and I need to get into the weeds here inside of our advanced editor. So what I need to calculate here is the total number of completed subtasks. That is to say, look at all of my linked subtasks for a particular task and determine the number of subtasks that have been marked complete. How can we do this? Well, generally the first step is to start typing something along the lines of what you think you might want to do. In our case, I want to count. So I start by typing count. Now SmartSuite has already put together an awesome editor for us. So we can see some options just by typing out the word count. And what I want to do is count under certain conditions. So CountIF sounds like it might be a match. I can select CountIF here from the left-hand side, and I see a representation of what that particular function is here on the right. So it gives us syntax, and then under that, examples. The syntax is breaking down for us how we will write this formula. So in this particular case, what we're doing is we're labeling out a criteria, that is the criteria that we will determine under the condition that we will count something, and then we are stipulating what it is we want to count. Notice that I can count both a linked record field and I can also count a multiple select field. In our case, we have a linked record field, so this is perfect. So now we look down below this and we see our examples. In this case, the first example is almost identical to what we want. We have a status field inside of our subtasks, and we want to make sure that it's marked complete. And if it is, then those are the conditions under which we want to count, and so therefore we will then look at that subtasks again. So let's just write this first one. I will again come back up into the formula writing itself, and I will actually select CountIF here from the list. Now, I can start typing out my first piece, which is, again, the criteria, and then I will separate it with a comma, and then I'll get into the thing I want to count. So what's my criteria? Well, first I'm going to look at my subtasks, and I have a link here. Now, because I want to examine a field in my subtasks relationship, I'm going to use this, but immediately follow it up with a period. This is called dot notation, and it means that we can go a layer deeper into this application that is linked here. So remember, I'm looking at my tasks application, and I want to examine the linked records in subtasks and look at their status. So here, now that I've hit period, I can see the different fields that are inside of my subtasks application. And I care about our status field. So now I want to say, well, under the condition or the criteria where it is equivalent, so I'll use double equals, and then inside of quotes, because I'm looking for text, I'm looking for an output of complete. Now, this first portion is saying my criteria is look at my linked relationship to subtasks, look at the status field. If the status is complete, then count it. And what do I want to count? Well, I want to count the link to subtasks. So I'm just going to plug that in. And of course, I'm separating that with a comma. Remember, comma is how we separate our different parameters inside of a formula. So for us, the first portion was criteria. Second portion is what are we counting? Now let's just give this a test. Formula 1 is now being able to get added. And this is counting for me the number of completed subtasks associated here. Let's verify that. We flip over to subtasks. I have 2 marked complete. If I move one of them, another one to complete, I now have 3. I flip back to tasks and I see this has been updated. So this is the first portion of what we're looking to do, but the next part is going to be called Formula 2. Here I will add another formula, and again I'll name this Formula 2. And again, because I want to do this complicated formula where I'm piecing a lot together, I will immediately flip on the advanced editor. Now this one's much simpler. All I want is the total count. And so I can simply say count. And now we see a bunch of different syntax options, right? Once I make this selection, it says you can count linked records, you can count linked records that have a certain field, you can count things in a multiple select field, and this is what the examples look like. So this is very straightforward. In our example, I'll pop in count, and again, I want to count my links to subtasks. Let's add the field. Now, right now, you might be saying, Gareth, why have you written formulas for this when in fact you could have just used a count field? Yes, we have a count field type. It performs the same thing as what these two pieces would do, but what I can't do with the count field is the more advanced math. And so because I want to actually not have all these standalone fields, but in reality, as an output, I want one field that calculates a percentage and that's it. Well, for us, I want to break it down in these steps as I've done. So that is why I'm not going the route of using the count field at this point. Now I'm going to show you how we combine these pieces together. So what I want to do is effectively take this value and divide it by that value and multiply by 100 and output that number as a percentage. In this case, I'm 75% of the way done. 3 out of 4 subtasks marked complete. So how can I do it? Well, the first step is to say, here is my percentage formula. We will once again create this more complicated formula, and I will say this is percent complete. This is going to be the field that actually embodies my final output. Now what I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm going to say, well, I want to say whatever my output for Formula 1 is, I'm going to divide that by my output in Formula 2. Let's go ahead and add this field, see what we get, 0.75. Okay, that's good, but in fact, I want this as a percentage, so maybe I'll multiply this by 100. Let's update the field. Here we go, 75, and I'm happy with this. This is showing me the percent complete 75 that I wanted to represent. But now I want to get rid of these formulas. There's no reason for them. But if I go and delete them, well, this formula relies on them. I can't delete field Formula 1, I can't delete field Formula 2 without breaking my now completed formula. So how can I get rid of them? Well, it's pretty simple. All I have to do is drop into my Formula 1 and I'll just copy it. Just select all of the formula, copy. Let's go back into our completed formula and we're going to highlight Formula 1 and we'll just paste the formula that we just copied. I'll update this field. We'll notice that, in fact, this formula output won't change because we've changed nothing. We're just referencing different things. We're not referencing this formula anymore. So now that I've eliminated this, I can just delete this field entirely from my SmartSuite solution. And I'll do the exact same thing for every other formula that I reference inside of my complete formula. So here I'm already linking up to subtasks and status and all of this, but I don't want Formula 2. I don't want this field anymore. So pretty simple. Go in here, highlight the whole thing and copy it, drop back into percent complete as our completed formula, highlight wherever we see Formula 2 as a field, and just paste. That's simple. Update this field, and now lastly, we will verify that nothing changed, and then we will make sure to delete that field. So now, if I'd sat down and tried to write this long formula all from scratch, all at once, there's a good chance I'd have made a lot of mistakes. But because I broke it up piece by piece and went step by step with these other fields, it became much more manageable. That's it. The last thing we have to do now is just verify that it's working. So here I am at 75%. If I change my status at all, let's go back to ready for review. We should see that we're back to 50% complete because we're 2 out of 4. So we verified that it's working correctly and we are ready to ship this new update. That's it for this video. I know we went kind of fast, but I'm telling you, if you can break your formulas down step by step, as I showed you here, you are going to learn how to write functions better, faster, and stronger inside of SmartSuite. Hope you got a lot out of this. If you have any questions that I did not cover, be sure to drop them below. And in the meantime, keep on building.